What's going on?
What's good, Mark Henry, man? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. You want it this way or you want it this way?
It don't matter, long as I got you on there, man. Long as I'm gonna go ahead and say my intro, man. Hey,
Okay.
man, say what you want to say, man. But this is Ty Talks. I'm your host, Tyran Days, and I'm gonna be breaking down some topics in the world of sports, debates, hot takes, and all the moments to keep the game talking. Remember, like, share, subscribe. The Ty Talks podcast one. All right, guys, I got the world's strongest man here, man. One-time world champion, ECW champion, European champion, tag team champion, one of the greatest heels of all time. Yes, we got Mark Henry here, man. Mark Henry, man.
What's going on, brother?
How you doing today, Mark, man?
Listen, I'm doing great, man. I tend to float on the side of dangerous and fatigue all times.
You got
So
to, man. You
I'm
got.
I'm just now getting my voice back from Mania because I was out there. Uh, had a comedy show, had two DJ shows,
Mhm.
and did five shows for Busted Open, um, which is on Sirius XM, um, as well as I did three shows of my show here in Austin, Texas,
Okay.
the morning kickoff. So, man, I don't know if I've done this much in 1 week.
I feel you. I feel you, man. So how was Mania to you? Was it everything you expected? How was
It,
it?
it was. It was. Like a lot of people criticized the first day because they wanted to hurry up and get to the next day. That ain't the way life is.
Yeah.
Like if you could pick and choose, I'm sure there's a lot of things you would have changed in your life, and there's a lot of things you would have did different.
Jumping into you bringing up criticism. So it's a lot of criticism in wrestling these days. Why is that so? Why do you think it's so much?
I think a lot of it is because it's a interactive industry.
Hmm.
The people on the outside get the influence the inside.
Hmm.
Because if you're on the inside and you don't have nobody to play to, then you're looking at yourself in the mirror. So the people know that they can affect the outcome. I mean, all you got to do is look at WrestleMania 40 with Dave LaGreca and on Sirius XM and him criticizing The Rock and The Rock going off and talking about him personally
Yeah.
in your pink robe and your mama's bathrobe or whatever and your wife or whatever and in your basement and yada yada yada. Dave LaGreca influenced the industry from the outside through criticism.
Yes.
So it's a prevalent thing. It ain't never gonna change. It was that way in early 1900s, and it's gonna be that way till they shut the world down.
So starting off with your wrestling career, Mark. I want to start from the jump. How did you get into this wrestling business, man?
I was a fan.
Okay.
You talk about from the outside in. If you watch my career,
I did.
um, my lifting career, powerlifting, weightlifting. I competed in celebrity slam dunk contests. I did all kind of stuff, and I just used to act like I was a wrestler. I was acting like I was JYD. I was acting like I was Hulk Hogan. I was acting like I was Bobo Brazil. So like for me to go out there in the WWF at the time.
Uh, I can't. Your audio went out, Mark, a little bit. I don't know what happened. Went out. Went out. Went out. Yeah, I can't hear you or see your audio at all.
My
Oh,
wife always checking on me, man.
yeah, you good? You
She
good?
always she always checking in.
Okay.
But but as a wrestling fan, um, everybody always recognized that I acted like I was a wrestler,
Hmm.
including the high ups at WWF. And Vince McMahon called my manager because he he knew this guy named Milo Steinborn who was had some ties in the pro wrestling, but he was a strongman guy.
Got you.
And Milo and Terry got Vince on the phone, and Vince told me he was like, "Hey, this is Vince McMahon." And of course, me thinking it was one of my friends, I hung up on him.
Oh man.
So they called me back, and I said, "This is Vince McMahon for real?" And he was like, "Yeah." Um, he was like, "I want to talk to you about, um, coming and seeing how we do things." And I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like, I mean, just as a wrestling fan, I'm thinking the 2 days before I had just watched The Undertaker and Yoko wrestle.
Yes.
So I was fired up.
I know you
So
was.
when I got to Connecticut and I saw what the industry looked like, and I ain't gonna even lie, um, it kind of ruined the fandom because I didn't want to. It's like eating a hot dog. Like I love hot dogs. I don't want to know how you make them.
Yeah, not at all.
I don't want to know what's in it. All I need to know is it tastes good.
Exactly.
And that's the way wrestling was for me. But once I got in and I realized how challenging it was, I've always been a competitor.
Mhm.
So that was easy for me to just fold right into competing.
Was that one of your hardest adjustments to WWE? Was how they moved and how they worked when you first got there from what you was doing at first?
Uh, the hard part was not the the physical part; it was the mental part
Okay.
because I don't like to fail.
Okay.
And in wrestling, you fail a lot.
Of
Like,
course.
okay, we're gonna do this. I do it, mess it up. Do it again, mess it up again. Do it again, and then now I'm like, oh my god, man, what is going on? People think that wrestling is easy. All I got to do is go in there and fall down and stomp my foot when I throw a punch. I've heard it all, and that's not what makes wrestling good. What
Mhm,
makes wrestling good is the Bible, and that's good and evil.
mhm.
It's the psychology of it. It's the storytelling.
Yep.
Sometimes it's simple psychology, big versus evil,
Mhm.
fast versus slow, like those kind of things. But then in order for me to make you really dislike me,
Mhm.
I have to convince you, but not only do I have to convince you that you don't like me and I don't like you, but all the people around us that's watching, I gotta show them that I'm a piece of shit,
You was one.
that I'm dirty, that I'm low, that I don't have any standards, that all I want to do is inflict pain. And that is the nature of being a pro wrestler. It's hard to do because you have to convince yourself too. Because
Exactly.
there was a time when I didn't want to be the bad guy. I wanted to be the good guy.
Exactly.
I wanted to do comedy.
Okay. Yeah. Mark Henry wanted to do comedy. Wow.
Shit, and I ended up doing it. I talked Vince into doing sexual chocolate,
Facts.
but it didn't last long.
I didn't.
I
But
was on I was only sexual chocolate for a year and a half.
how was that experience being doing the sexual chocolate part? Starting off with that basically first. How was that like?
Well, I didn't start there. Like sexual chocolate came after the nation.
Okay.
And I came in as all American boy, Mr. USA type of thing. Then I joined the nation, and we ruled for about 3 years. And then, I mean, when I say rule, I mean almost every match on the card was the nation.
Rock, D'Lo Brown, you.
Ron Simmons would be wrestling Stone Cold. The Rock would be wrestling Triple H or Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart or somebody, me and D'Lo would be tagging against the Headbangers or one of the Road Dog and X Pac. Like the whole show would be all nation versus somebody, and it wore thin because once the story was told that The Rock finally had took over the nation,
Hmm.
it had to end.
Yeah.
And then me and D'Lo, Godfather, uh,
Ron,
Papa Shango, um, I mean, Kama. I guess he was Kama
yeah.
after the nation,
Mhm.
and then he went into being the Godfather, and he had success as the Godfather. Me and D'Lo had individual success. Both of us became champions.
Mhm.
Um, Ron had success, joined the APA
Mhm.
with Bradshaw. Like nobody ever failed after that.
No, y'all were a tag team that they don't talk about that much. I don't understand why they don't talk about the nation as much as they should.
The nation is not in the Hall of Fame either,
And it's crazy.
which is some bullshit.
Yeah, it is some bullshit. You got you and The Rock, y'all individually, y'all two probably the most star out of that whole group. And you got Ron Simmons and you know what I'm saying?
D'Lo, Godfather, Owen Hart was in there briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Savio Vega was in there. Crush was in there. People think that it was a black militant group, but it was a diverse group of folks. You got a Canadian white dude called the Black Heart. Come on, man.
Yeah, that was insane. That was insane.
Like we had a ball, man, and nobody ever fought in the nation. There was never an argument. It was a lot of laughing and mentoring because Ron Simmons was a teacher, man. Like he taught us all how to have longevity in the business. That's why everybody lasted so long.
Yeah. So first, he's the first African American champion.
World champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know you learned a lot from him. So
If
skip.
anybody know, he did.
I already know. And you teaching a lot of people these days too. So you done became a veteran yourself. Skipping over
Yeah.
to
I relish the role of teacher
okay.
because like I've been around my coach and manager was a kinesiology professor at the University of Texas. His wife ended up being the head kinesiology professor, and now she's the over the entire sports department at University of Texas. My wife, her mother, her father were all teachers and principals. I've been surrounded by educators my whole like adult life. Charles Davis, who is one of the foremost college football experts. Charles Davis was a mentor of mine. He was the executive director at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs when I was there. And I used to go sit in his office and say, man, this is crazy. And he would be like, what are you talking about? And I was like, man, all these people answer to you. Like you a black dude.
Yeah.
Like this is a kid that came from a town with 3,000 people that was 50-50. The black people lived on one side of the tracks, the white people lived on the other side of the tracks. It was one Indian family and it was one Mexican family.
Wow.
One out of three, one family out of all of those 3,000 people.
Wow.
So when I came to Austin and I was here in Austin for like 8 months, 9 months. And then I moved to Colorado Springs and the culture shifted because there was a lot of black people
Mhm.
in Austin. But then when I went to Colorado, it was like 12 of us. I'm joking, but it was not that many black folks up there in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And except for on the Olympic Training Center base or on the military base.
Okay.
And um, like for me to be able to go in Charles Davis' office and say, man, teach me how to be you. And he was like laughing. He was like, "Well, Mark, I did a lot to get here, and it's going to take time." And he was right. And he started teaching me diplomacy. He started teaching me how to be a steward to other athletes. He's like, you got to foster relationships. So, like, if you ever have to run for office, you got enough people to like you that they'll co-sign for you, and you'll get votes. So I wasn't political at all. I had no idea about how politics worked or whatever, and I still am not a political guy
I feel you.
because I just don't believe in political systems. I believe in takeovers.
Mhm.
I believe that if you got a problem, um, you got to align the people around you and go get it done.
Exactly. So, Mark, how did you pull them trucks, man? how did you how did you pull them tractor trailers, man?
Man, I trained to do that. Like, I have a harness. I have my own special harness out there in the garage that I plan on never using again. Um, when I pulled the two trucks, I had never pulled two trucks before. I
Yeah.
had pulled one truck, and Vince talked me into it. And man, my feet and uh, like my hamstrings was on fire for like a couple of weeks. It's the same thing with breaking the chain.
I was just about to bring that up, man. Against Batista, man. You
Yeah, like I did some stuff in wrestling that I was not ready to do.
mhm,
It was kind of like just thrown on you.
mhm.
Um, thank God I was able to do it and not fail on live TV. But
How did they
I,
convince you to do that? The breaking the chain, was it supposed to be unlocked a little bit or something?
well, the chain was supposed to be cut
Mm-hmm.
with a hacksaw. Like you just weaken it,
Mm-hmm.
cut it to where you pull it and ping, it make a sound and break, which still requires strength, but
Yeah.
not nowhere near
Not what you did,
as.
Mark. You was like let me pull this man until it break. I was like, wow.
And the thing about it is everybody could see it. It was live and on TV,
Uh,
and like afterwards, um, Vince was so mad,
oh man.
and I had to tell him, man, chill, man, relax. I did it. It's over with. Let it go.
He was blaming
Because
on the production crew or getting ready
the
to.
the guy that forgot,
Mm-hmm.
they were going to fire him,
Wow.
and I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. We need him.
Exactly.
Like he forgot shit. I done forgot some stuff in my life too. I failed. Yeah, I said it. I ain't perfect. I would like for people to think, oh yeah, that guy's perfect. I'm not. But I didn't want him to suffer because, something slipped through the crack.
hmm So, skipping forward, 2006, you versus the Undertaker. This is the first WrestleMania I ever ordered. So, it's it's something I would never forget, bro. Go over that match. How did you even get in this match? First of all,
You know what? Like I had a pretty decent relationship with the Undertaker.
Mhm.
And, like I told him that you didn't beat everybody. I was like, nobody, there's nobody left. Like nobody's gonna put you in jeopardy. It's like the Lakers. I can't even say the Lakers no more because they're not good like that no more. It's like Oklahoma City playing Washington.
Oh yeah,
The Oklahoma City finna beat them 132 to 90.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's what I was saying to him. I said, but people know that um, I'll put the belt to you. It's just like big prize fights. It's like the reason why people love Brock Lesnar over Femi. because it's scary.
Yeah.
You think that either one of those dudes could hit the other dude and do him in just like that.
Yeah.
And so it was a big energy thing. And you had, I had went through everybody. I'm talking about World Strongest Slam, bam, World Strongest Slam,
Yeah.
putting people face in concrete,
Yeah.
like doing scary shit.
You was that man, dog. You was that dude. You was that dude for sure.
I got to be the guy that I always was afraid of letting out
Mhm.
because where I'm from, if you me, you get shot. People ain't gonna fight me.
Yep.
That's why I went to jail when I was a kid because I tried to drown a kid in a mud puddle.
Sheesh. Wow.
And
Wow.
then, so it's like I well, I didn't want to portray that evil,
Mhm.
but with the Undertaker, I could because it balanced everything out. And there were people that looked at the Undertaker like a dark, evil entity.
Mhm.
But me, I was like just as evil and just as threatening. And people just wanted to see the train wreck. They wanted to see the car crash. Who was gonna flinch? So like that that in itself was um it was what we gave them.
Was
And it ended up being one of the uh best sagas because we wrestled for like a year and a half.
yeah. Is that one of your greatest matches? You say?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't
WrestleMania.
no ain't no doubt.
Yeah,
WrestleMania 22.
definitely.
You the main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Everybody don't get that.
Not
There's
at all.
probably been about four black people being in the main event at WrestleMania.
You, Booker T.
The Rock,
Mhm.
Bianca Belair was in a main event.
That's about it. Yeah, that's about
I'm
it.
trying to think.
That's pretty much it. I see Oba and probably Javon later on down the line, but
Yeah, they're gonna get theirs.
most definitely.
Kofi Kingston was world champion,
He
but
def
they weren't the main event,
yeah, it won't the main event. So Batista, Rey Mysterio, these some of your greatest opponents, man, for sure.
without a doubt.
What's
I mean, ain't my favorite match of all time was me and Rey Mysterio. We had a match in Spain in a bullfighting arena. It's 45,000 people in there. I mean, packed in like sardines. And it was outdoors, so it started to mist, like not rain, but just it was misty. When the wind blew, you could see it looked like smoke almost.
that's crazy.
And then about 10 minutes into the match, light rain started. And every time I would go and try to catch Rey Mysterio, he would move out the way and the whole crowd would go, Olay. And we probably did that like 6 times.
Yeah, y'all
Like,
just
I mean, the crowd was losing their minds. And two people tried to help Rey Mysterio. They jumped over the barricade and came to the ring, and security got him. The referee jumped on top of a guy, Jimmy Corderas, referee Jimmy Corderas,
mhm.
jumped on top of the dude and was kicking him and pushing him out of the ring. And I told Ray, I said, we got him. Look, people coming after me. I'm finna torture your ass. Like he was like, hey, it's me.
Mark
Like,
Harry, y'all used to have me ordering pay-per-views off Direct TV, getting myself in trouble because the pay-per-view cost $60. And then when my parents get the bill, my parents get the bill, they're like, what is this? Great American Bash. And then SummerSlam right after this. It's like, bro, y'all had me. I was a true wrestling fan, man. I grew up.
I appreciate you.
I started
I'm,
watching wrestling in 2003. That's when I started watching wrestling. So from there, my cousins, my uncles, they put me on. When I first watched it, I was not a fan, but I was young. 2003 came around. I started watching more and more, 4 or 5. So y'all are the standard for me. This is truly like a dream right here, bro. To really be in an interview with Mark Henry for sure.
Well, man, I tell you what, I appreciate you for being a fan, but I also appreciate you with the sacrifice because you could have been buying anything. You could have been buying, they had MMA, boxing, all kind of stuff that you could have been watching, and you chose to watch professional wrestling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I missed the SmackDown with the fists. I missed the Raw with the square, man. I miss it all, bro. It's ain't nothing like that nostalgia. But fast forward it, bro. Hall of the retirement promo, the Hall of Pain, all this. You winning your first world championship. You having some of the best matches. I think some of your best opponents also. Tell me how it was with that. Get into that character.
Well, the Hall of Pain started with guys that I came up in wrestling started to retire,
Mm-hmm.
and they were putting people in the Hall of Fame, and it came up on WrestleMania, and um, I was like, well, I'm so tired of everybody putting the emphasis on the Hall of Fame, and the guy at the time that I was wrestling, I said that I'm going to put people in the Hall of Pain, and once I said that, it was like I got to wrestle the best of the best
What?
every week.
Yep.
Somebody was going to get it. Um, I joke around about my music, but that was the way that I saw everything.
One of the
You know,
greatest songs, interest music. You had it all, bro. You had aura, you had everything, man. When Mark Henry, that theme song hit by 3 6 Mafia, you knew what time it was, bro. You knew what time it was.
yeah, and I did my best to um, try to make people understand that it was my time, and I wanted people to pay attention to me. And everybody don't get an opportunity to be the number one guy, and I wanted to maximize it. And so somebody else after me would get that opportunity,
Mhm.
and I was able to do that. It just so happened that during that time, I was in a lot of pain because my back, I have nerve damage. And if you've seen any videos of me walking around, you'll be like, damn, Mark Henry.
You
You
did
know,
lift 900 pounds, didn't you?
but I didn't get hurt lifting. I got hurt wrestling.
Okay.
And so when I got out, when I got to that point where I just couldn't take the pain no more, I just said, man, I'm retiring. I'm done. I said, I'm gonna give y'all the rest of this year. And when it's over with, then I'm done. And Vince was like, come on, man, you got a lot left. You could do more. And I was like, no, man, I'm going home. My kids cry when I leave and all of this stuff. And it got to the point to where he pulled me in his office one day. He said, I got an idea and I want to run it by you, but it's going to require you to wrestle a couple of more years. And I said, man, you just trying to get me to sign another deal. And he was like, no, no, no. I mean, if you really want to go, then I can't stop you. But I do want to get you under contract, and I want you to see what you think about this. And he explained the idea about me acting like I was going to retire because everybody was under the impression that I was going to retire. And I thought it was funny. I thought like, shit, that's good. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do this. And then, when it runs to an end, then I'm out. And he was like, all right, cool. He said, but I still want you to sign a 2-year deal.
I, I stand on
So
this. You
so
should have.
he got me.
Yeah.
He got me. I came out of there with a 2-year deal, and we started preparing. I really started lying in. I start telling everybody, man. I got real solid friends that everybody know.
Mhm.
You know, everybody know Arsenio Hall, and they know all the wrestlers, and the list goes on of folks.
Mhm.
Um, but I started saying out. It was on the ticker. It
Mhm.
was on the ESPN ticker. Mark Henry set to retire, and I mean, like everybody knew it was
Mhm.
over. And about that time, we pulled off the biggest wrestling heist of all time because it was real. My retirement. You notice I never did a retirement match.
Yeah.
How am I top that?
Yeah. You can't. That was the perfect way for Mark Henry to actually go out.
And I did my real retirement,
And that's
and and everybody understood. Like, wow. I mean, everybody as far as you could see was crying.
mhm.
Grown men, women, children, everybody. To the point to where Hulk Hogan called me
Wow.
afterwards, like 2 days later, and he was like, "How how long did you know that you were going to do that?" And I said, "Probably about 4 months." And he was like, "Oh man." He said, "Well, I just want to let you know that I've been watching wrestling for probably longer than you've been alive, and that's the only time that I ever been got.
You got
I
it.
didn't know that you were going to do that. I couldn't tell."
Wow.
And then, of course, 3 or 4 months later, all that shit happened,
Yeah.
and it just got strained. But I never had no problem. And he even told me, um, he called me after that, all that shit happened, and Vince called me after all of that happened, and he was like, "Man, I just want to let you know, like that's not who I am." And I said, "Why you telling me? You need to tell the world that,
Yeah.
because I ain't the only one that's hurt."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, I've been advised not to talk about it no more." And I said, "That's a bad decision."
Yeah.
And I've talked to his daughter, and I was like, "You know how me and your dad was?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "He told me about what was said and why he got where he was." And she said, "Yeah, I talked to him." And I said, "Terry, just go come clean. We'll go to some black colleges, to the law departments,
mhm.
and then you can tell your side of the story and say, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I've done it myself. People have made me so mad that I've said shit that I regret. And
Every
I really didn't even mean it. I said it because I was trying to hurt you.
yeah.
I was trying to make you feel bad.
Mhm.
And that's what he said. And because of him being drunk and drugged, um, self-drug, I can see you acting out because he didn't have to come and tell me nothing. But if he felt bad enough to come to me and say, "Man, that's not who I am, bro," then I believe it. But he never came clean to the people,
Yeah. He never did.
and I hate that
Yeah, he never came clean, man.
because black people are the most forgiving people in the world,
Yep.
and I feel like it was just a bad mistake for the sake of business.
Mhm.
And then once you get to a certain level, you lean to the other side, and he just started leaning to the other side. I
Mhm.
ain't making. I told Harvey Levin on TV on uh, TMZ. I said I'm not making no apologies for him. He made his bed. He got to lay in it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like I ain't gonna be out here in this world looking like a Tom
Yeah.
defending somebody that ain't willing to stand up and and apologize.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, so it was tough, but you know what? He called, he commended me, and I kept it moving.
Exactly. So, Mark, going back to Night of Champions, you won your first championship against 14-time world champion Randy Orton, the Viper. How was that feeling? How did you know you was winning the championship that night?
That was a validation moment because the crowd used. I got so well respected with being the Hall of Pain that nobody believed that I was going to lose. And Big Show beat me, and the crowd booed our ass out of the building. Not like boo, I hate the Big Show, but
Hmm.
they was booing like, man, this is some bullshit. Like I don't even want to watch this no more. It's a shame.
That's 2011. A lot of y'all veterans was winning championships. Vince was rotating that title a lot in 2011.
Yeah,
I think.
and it worked. It
Mhm.
worked, and I think that would work today. I
Yeah.
don't think that one person. They need to have more tournaments.
Hmm.
They need to have more verses, one on ones, call outs. Because imagine right now, um, Cody Rhodes get called out by uh, Obafemi,
Hmm.
and he say, "Listen, man, I had you beat, but Drew McIntyre ran in and ruined it at John Cena's retirement. I had you beat.
Exactly.
I would be champion right now if it wasn't for Drew McIntyre, and I'm gonna get to him,
Hmm.
but I want a shot again. But this time, I want me and you in a cage. Nobody gets in,
Hmm.
nobody gets out. It's the winner by submission or pinfall inside the cage.
Hmm.
Boy, you imagine the anxiety, the look on Cody's face, and he got to be man. That's what made wrestling so scary when we was kids. They don't do a lot of that no more.
The nostalgia is not there. I love WWE, but I just be like, something's missing. Is missing. Something is.
This WrestleMania they did though.
Yeah. Oh,
It
this was a
it
great.
took for them to have Obafemi and Brock,
Hmm.
and it took for them to have CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and it took for them to have Jade and Rhea Ripley. Them three matches, and Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. Four matches was about angst, about hate,
Hmm.
about I'm better than you. You think you better than me, and we gonna see.
Exactly. What was your favorite match from WrestleMania?
Shit, Punk and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
You know, Brock and Oba was second,
Hmm.
but man, them dudes went almost an hour,
Yeah.
and I was never bored once. And the fact that Roman Reigns called CM Punk out and said that you're old, your conditioning is horrible. You get in there with me, I'm gonna take your ass in the deep water and I'm gonna drown you. He didn't drown Cody,
Yeah.
but as Roman did say, that Cody is older
Yeah.
and he just couldn't answer the last bell.
Yeah.
But it told a great story that about resilience and dominance,
Hmm.
and respect. Because as much as Roman Reigns would have loved to say, "Man, I beat you like a drum," he can't say that.
Yeah.
He barely won.
Yeah.
He got lucky
Yeah.
to win. And 10 years earlier, maybe it's a different outcome.
Yeah. Most definitely.
5 years.
Most definitely. So I got one more question about you, Mark, before I go into the future of WWE. So you versus Big Show. Uh, when y'all broke the ring, was all that planned out, man? How did?
Well, it wasn't a planned out thing. It was the fact that the significance of what we were
Mhm.
is what it is where the tire meets the road. To answer your question would be insider trading. Um, but you have the two biggest, most dominant guys in wrestling over the last 15 years. You know, you had Taker and Brock who were up there, Kane was up there. But in that moment, myself and Big Show were the shit.
Definitely.
And when we went at it, it was just like Brock and Oba.
100%.
People, people were like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And we put on a damn show. And when we came off the top and the infrastructure of the match was to break the ring, that's when pro wrestling is real. And a lot of people don't realize that um, the battle of is wrestling real and is wrestling entertainment is a thin line. There are some people that wrestle because they want to entertain. And then there's some wrestlers that wrestle because of dominance and they want to be remembered. Me and Big Show went out there with the intent on being remembered
Definitely. It's
and
memorable.
and respected.
Definitely.
And we achieved that.
Y'all did. You did. Y'all both achieved so much, man. Like I told you, Mark, I think you're one of the greatest heels ever because it was just intimidating. You see Mark Henry, you hear that music. I know your opponent is over there scared and shaking and just so Daniel Bryan, I got one more. Daniel Bryan, you went against him too. How was it going against Daniel Bryan?
One of my favorites, him, Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Undertaker, Randy Orton, Batista, Big Show, Chris Benoit, um, and the matches that I had with Alberto Del Rio,
Mm.
um, John Cena.
You sh-
mm,
you should have won the WWE championship. You should have won.
yeah, and CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Those matches, it's about 15 matches
Mm-hmm.
and 15 competitors that stand above the rest of everybody.
Would you say Sheamus is on that list too?
Me and Sheamus had some wars,
Mm-hmm.
and we had him and Rusev. I would kind of put like in the same category. But I wrestled 3,000 matches,
Mm-hmm.
and but the names that I put out there, they were special because they signified me. They validated me, and I validated their careers too.
Most definitely.
And I'll never ever forget anybody that I competed against. Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan. I helped get him into WWE.
Okay.
I saw him and I knew how good he was the first minute I laid eyes on him.
Cause I seen that dark match he had in the '90s. He had I think he was like towards the end, like probably like '98 or something like that. He had a '99. He probably had a dark match 2000. It's one of those years, but he had a dark match and
Yeah, I bet he killed it too.
yeah, most definitely.
And when we wrestled, like I could hear people moaning and groaning in the crowd, and like I didn't even have to touch him. If he was on the ground getting up, and I was walking towards him, the crowd, it was like a horror movie. Watch out! Move! He coming! Like it was 25,000 people saying that at the same time,
Most definitely.
and I didn't get that with everybody, but the people I named. Undertaker included. That's the way it was.
So fast forward, man. Present day wrestling versus back in the day. What's the biggest difference you think?
The biggest difference is the transitional periods are faster.
Hmm.
When I was a kid, wrestlers was 45, 50 years old.
They were.
And then now you got wrestlers 20 years old,
Javon.
19 years old. And people look at it and they go, man, I could beat him. I could beat her, like because of the age factor, but they not factoring in. It's a different time.
Yeah.
And wrestling is a different. The 15, it would take about 15 years for wrestling to flip flop.
Hmm.
And now you have flip flops in wrestling every 5 years. I mean, every year they fire about 20 people
Yeah. Yeah. I've been the
every year
every year.
because of the developmental. I was the first developmental wrestler. Everybody else was in territories,
Hmm.
and you would work your ass off to make it, and then big companies would go, "Hey, we want you to come join us," and then you would just go and start working in different territories.
You the
You
first
make it,
Olympian, right? Kurt Angle is the second Olympian.
and they brought us in. Well, The Rock was second
Well, yeah, true.
because he moved in with me,
Hmm.
and we lived together and traveled together. Um,
That's
it,
true.
it was the list they created Ohio Valley Wrestling, and then they created FCW, and now they have the Performance Center. It evolved from us being in Louisville because I included went to Louisville
Hmm.
when I came back from Canada from my banishment. Um, when I came back to Louisville, I was there for a year and a half, almost a half, about a year and 4 months. And that's where I met Brock, Shelton, Punk, Cena,
Andy.
Batista, Randy,
Hmm.
BJ Payne, like all of that era of wrestling. I remember Zack Ryder first day, Matt Cardona.
At Cardona.
You know what I'm saying? Like I met people like all the girls, Mickey James, like you. So I had second life, But now today,
Hmm.
that turnover don't take 5 years.
Yeah.
That it used to take like 15 years. Then when I came back from Canada, it started taking like 5 years. Now it's on a year-to-year basis. Like there might be somebody go to the performance center, they never wrestled a day in their life. And
Yeah.
if they get it, then boom, there you go. You got talent.
Exactly. So
But man, my time, my wife has texted me like 3 times. If I don't answer this time, I might get kicked out of my own house.
okay, I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up though, Mark. But who is somebody today that you see yourself through? Like you see yourself in anybody today?
You know what? I love Obafemi, but I can't compare myself to Obafemi because Obafemi is respected and liked. I was feared. There was a difference. And if anybody carrying cross, like people are afraid of carrying cross. They know carrying cross will whoop their ass. And like he's he don't care. And Brock is one of those guys. They'll whoop you, man. They don't care.
All
You
right,
know.
Mark. So give me your three of the future, man. Who you going with? Your three of
Oh
the
man,
three favorite future.
I would go with Obafemi, of course.
Mhm.
Jake Paul,
Okay.
um, and Jay Cargill.
One more question. Did you agree with her losing?
I did.
You did. Why?
Rhea Ripley is a multi-time champion
Mm-hmm.
at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
When a youngster goes in the deep water
Mm-hmm.
and you go against a vet, 9 times out of 10, the vet gonna win.
All
And then the vet gets old, and then the youngster comes up and is able to, beat him in the long game. This is not the long game, and Rhea ain't old yet. She in her prime. Jade beating her would have been a travesty.
right. Okay.
Jade is going to be Rhea real soon. Within the next 2 years, the way we talk about Charlotte Flair is the
Yeah.
way everybody's going to be talking about Jade.
And that's exactly how I feel. I think I personally I thought Charlotte should have been her first opponent, but you know what I'm saying, at WrestleMania for the
Hey,
championship,
everybody can put their name on a contract.
definitely. So look, Mark, I appreciate you, man. Pulling up. I really appreciate you, man. This is probably one of the greatest interviews I ever had in my life. But yeah, guys, look, like, share, subscribe to Ty Talks Podcast One. More content, more content, more content. World's strongest man, Mark Henry, man. I
I
appreciate
appreciate you, brother.
you already, bro.
God bless you.
God bless you too, bro. Appreciate you, man, for
All
sure.
right.
Mhm.